Is this new 3D printer really good for beginners? Well, let's find out. Hey, welcome back to Tripod's Garage. Today we're looking at a new 3D printer by Ankermake. It's the M5C. Currently it's about $399 on their website. And what makes this 3D printer unique? Well, it's supposed to print fast, like really fast, at like 500 millimeters per second fast. And while I'm starting to see some 3D printer manufacturers going the clipper route, as far as I can tell from their GitHub for Ankermake, that this is running a fork of Marlin 2.0x. And I think that's great because I love seeing competition, because you know who it benefits? Us, the consumer. So competition drives innovation and sometimes prices as well. So I love seeing that healthy competition. Plus, second is on the box, it says that it's easy to use for beginners. I'm all for that, because when I started 3D printing about 4 years ago, it was pretty overwhelming. I mean, it's a lot to learn. So if they could simplify this process, I think that's great. Now, if you're coming here to see who this 3D printer is good for, well, got some bad news for you. I'm not going to tell you, because it's not my place to say that this is good for grandma, grandpa, husband, wife, brother, sister, next door neighbor, or even my dog Bear. Sorry, buddy. But it's just not my place, because everyone has a different learning curve. What's simple for me may be hard for you, and what's simple for you may be hard for me. Like, for instance, I'm pretty terrible with names. Someone introduces you to me, chances are I'll forget your name a few seconds later. But I'll remember a conversation that we had about 3 years ago. So again, I'm sorry, but it's just not my place to say who this machine is good for. All I can try to say is, hey, is this going to be a simple process? And if you stay tuned towards the end of this video, you, the new 3D printer person, may have a chance to help participate in that. So please tune in at the end of this video, and if you like what you're seeing here, please consider subscribing or even becoming a channel member, because I love doing giveaways and giving back to the community. Well, enough about all that. Let's take a closer look at this 3D printer. I mean, it looks to be about the standard desktop size. I mean, you got a 220 by 220 by 250 build volume. And let's take a closer look to see what else this printer has to offer for standard features. Inside, we have a proprietary board. It is what they call an X-Burst 1.2 gigahertz. It's running 8 gigs of storage. Then we have a auto bed leveling system that uses the hot end as a bed probe, so it most likely has a strain gauge inside, and it has a grid of 7 by 7. This base is all alloy. I believe it's machined. There is plastic on the outside here, but this whole plate is all alloy. It's not going anywhere. It's nice and rigid. Then you have this one-click button. It is customizable through the app, whether it's a quick press or a long press. You can actually choose what it does. Next, let's talk about the Y-axis. Most printers will have just maybe a 2020, 2040 extrusion, aluminum extrusion. Well, this is milled. Definitely unique. It does ride on V-rollers with 2 eccentric nuts on this side, so that way you could make sure it's nice and tight and rigid, but not too tight. It does not have any leveling springs, which is a nice plus. You do have a belt tensioner here. You have a dual-sided textured PEI, and look at that, with guides in the back. Spring steel PEI sheet. And it does have dual independent Z's, which is nice. And here is your basically your display, so to speak. This is your indicator. It'll change colors based on what the machine is doing. So if it's heating up, and getting ready, it will flash at you like an orangish red. And it beeps. It beeps a lot at you. This is a 300C all-metal hot-end direct drive. Unfortunately, I did not find any way to tension the extruder. I could have overlooked it, so please comment below if I have. I just did not find it in any of the literature. It does have dual part cooling as well. Cable management, it just looks great. So I mean, it's hard. You'd be hard pressed to tell that this is just not two PTFE tubes. You got the PTFE tube for your top mount for your filament. It comes down, and then you also have this one wire that comes up and through from your breakout board to your hot end. And then you have this big ribbon cable along the back. Everything is just very well thought out, very nice and clean, nice design. So yes, this printer has a lot of good standard features. It's built solid and it's definitely a pretty darn nice looking machine. But how easy is it to assemble? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that now as well. Wow, talking about easy assembly, that actually leads to today's video sponsor, PCBWay. Are you looking for a PCB manufacturer? Well, look no further. Are you looking for rigid, flexible PCBs? Are you looking for them to assemble them for you? Well, they can. And they also offer other services, such as 3D printing, injection molding, and CNC. Heck, they even have a community section where you could buy a project and assemble it on your own. If you're looking for any of these services, please reach out to PCBWay. I would like to thank PCBWay for sponsoring today's video of the Ankermake M5C. Now let's continue on. Now if you've been into 3D printing, you'll notice that it's missing something, an interface. And if you're new to 3D printing, you may not miss that at all. So the next step to actually getting your machine up and running is that you need what's called a companion app for your phone or tablet. Yes, so you'll need to go ahead and download the Ankermake app. And it's pretty darn simple. It walks you right through everything. The first thing you're going to be greeted with is a terms of service and privacy policy. I would suggest that you go ahead and you review all this, because to me, all these, manufacturers or, software developers or whatever, they throw a lot of things in here, and I suggest that you review it. To me, if I don't agree with something, if I say I don't agree, I should still be able to use it. It's just that I don't agree and I'm opting out of what you are putting in front of me. But I should still be able to use it because I am a customer. I purchased this product. So I always suggest that please review these, and now let's continue on. The first thing you're going to need to do is create a login. And once you create the login, you're going to log into the app and choose your printer. Once you choose your printer, you're going to need to scan the QR code and then hit the play button to synchronize it. Then you're going to want to join your Wi-Fi network. Pick your Wi-Fi, join the network, and just hit next. Once you've joined, go ahead and rename the printer if you so choose. Mine's Hot Muffin, of course. What else would it be? Next, you could actually customize the button. Single press, double click, or, long press. And it could do whatever you want within reason. You only get a list of like 5 things. So go ahead and choose it and then hit done. And now you're practically ready. Now, the app does look really nice, but it's very limited to basically controls and temperatures, and of course loading some files. My first step would be to level the bed, because you're definitely going to want to do it. In the 3D printing community, it's always a thing that, hey, have you leveled your bed yet? Now you can also go ahead and choose some pre-sliced files through their little library. And these are files that you could just go ahead and print. Fortunately, these have a license where you can't sell them. So please review the licenses of these files first. Then you could go ahead and send the job to your printer after you load the filament. But it definitely has a nice helpful reminder. It tells you to clean your bed before you kick off that print. Yes, you always want to make sure that your build surface is nice and clean and free of any oils from your fingers. Never touch the surface. I'm happy to see that there's a pretty nice mobile-friendly app with a library to get you started. However, you are definitely limited with that library. Say that you want to expand your horizons, like with other 3D models that are out there. You got sites like Things, Printables, and I dare say Thingiverse. And there's also plenty of Patreons out there that you could buy models from. Well, to get you started, you could actually download the Ankermake Slicer, and this is actually a fork of Cura at 4.11, which means they're using that version of Cura, and it's been skinned and kind of modified to suit this printer. It has two options. You have basic and then beginner mode, and you have expert. But I've noticed that there's still some features that are missing even in the expert mode. Say that you want to use a different slicer. Well, that's no big deal at all, because on Ankermake's website, you could actually go on there and it shows you how to configure those. Say that you want to use Prusa, it's all right there. And say that you want to use Cura, the newest version, it shows you how to configure it and get you running on that as well. So you definitely have a manufacturer out there that has thought about a lot of steps. Even on their website, they show you how to maintain this printer, which is great, because that is one of my biggest pet peeves with these manufacturers, is that the documentation is lackluster. I mean, if I want to replace this hot end, I don't know how to do it. I have to go and dig on YouTube. But the manufacturer's website has you covered with all of that. Well, at the end of the day, it's all about how does the printer perform and how does it print. Well, let's take a look and see how well it did. This is our first 17-minute Benchy. This is an Ankermake white, and I do not like showing white filament on camera. First, it's very hard to focus on it, and second, it doesn't show that much great detail. So when you get a person reviewing and they just do it in white and do it like this and say, wow, that came out great. Well, I'm kind of fooling you, because it definitely looks really good, but it definitely is hiding a lot of detail. So that's why I do not like using white. You can see that is under extruded here. And I've seen this before on the last two 3D printers that I've reviewed. Now this is the third one that's happened where it seems like it's under extruded here for their speed test Benchy. And it seems that it's missing some layers on the bottom. So let's get rid of the white filament for right now, because it's not camera friendly. And let's go to Profit 3D Magenta. Now you can see it a lot better. And I'm battling a Z offset right now. You can see it's definitely squished too much. And that's when I learned that I have to actually do it kind of like in between prints. As you can see, we got some ghosting here, and we have that infamous under extrusion. So yeah, if you want to do a speed test, definitely choose another color but white. And this is just me doing another print. You can see that my Z offset's getting a little bit better, and I also increased the temperature on this. The ghosting is still happening, and it's happening more on one side than the other. That seems to be another theme with some of these speed Benchies, that ghosting / ringing is more on one side. Now I switched to Profit 3D Blue, and I noticed on this one that we had some temperature changes. So I said, oh, okay. And I got my Z offset a little bit better on this one. You can see the under extrusion again. Then I decided to slice my own Benchy here. This one is at a 0.12 layer height, and it took about 40 minutes to complete. And this is looking a lot better. Some slight ringing, especially on that side once again. And no under extrusion. Definitely seems they're shortcutting the Benchy somehow. Especially on the bottom layer, because there's definitely more bottom layers to this, but you'll notice that the bow has an issue. And it seems to be having a cooling issue. Again, this is at 0.12 at 250 millimeters per second. So my final Benchy, I decided to do 250 millimeters per second at a 0.2 layer height. And there you go. To me, this is by far the most acceptable Benchy. Very slight ghosting right there, ringing, but everything else looks absolutely fantastic. So I believe that this printer is fully capable of printing at a decent speed at 250 or lower at 0.2 layer height. You could definitely go at a finer 0.12, but you're going to want to decrease your speed significantly. So let's talk about like a practical print here. This is from Stephen to Lightspeed. I am a Patreon to his models. And this was when I was doing it at 500 millimeters per second. You definitely see the artifacts here, the ghosting, ringing, echoes, whatever you want to call it. And it, definitely still came out really nice for a 3D print going that fast. Since this is going in my stereo cabinet, I really don't care about how it looks in front, but if you want it to look a lot better, go with that 250 or lower, and maybe increase your layer height. But again, if you do a 0.12, just really decrease it maybe to about 100 or less. Since this is a practical print, this is for an Xbox controller. And look how nice that fits in there, like a glove. Then you also have these back slots here, and this is for some AA batteries. Now, I definitely like a good practical print. Love it. And this is for cable storage, for USB. Well done, Stephen. Really like it a lot. So then, since I'm a more of a practical print type of person, I asked Mrs. Tripod to pick something from their small library for Ankermake, and she picked out this castle. And I'm telling you, I am so impressed with this. This took about 9 hours. This is a Cookie CAD unicorn. It's a fast transition. And wow, I am thoroughly impressed with the quality. Look at this. Absolutely amazing. I'm so impressed with this. It just proves how great of quality you can get out of this. This is at a 0.4 nozzle and a 0.12 layer height. And look at that, dialed in pretty much my Z offset. I just really like the filament as well as the quality of this. And would you believe this? This is the first articulated dragon I've ever printed. And this is also off of their app. And I'm not a layer line fan at all. I don't like seeing layers. But if you are into layer lines, look how nice and clean of a print that is. Amazing. So yes, you can still print fast and have some amazing results. And I can see how these are pretty addictive. So yes, I achieved really nice prints out of this machine, and it definitely came out, a lot of them came out really, really good. So let's continue on. As you can see, we definitely got some nice quality prints out of this machine. Now let's talk about some of the pluses and minuses. First, ease of setup. I was literally printing within the first 15 minutes of setting up this machine. Those nice big printed how-to guides were really, really, really good. And let's talk about their website for Ankermake. I mean, talking about documentation, this is where other manufacturers should go to learn from. I mean, literally you have everything from how to set up and print to how to maintain and replace parts on this machine. Literally everything either has a video or step-by-step guide with pictures. I mean, I've only been asking for this for years. So other manufacturers, please take note. This is literally the stepping stone to getting good customer support. Now let's talk about the printer itself. I mean, honestly, it's one of the nicest designed 3D printers for a Cartesian bed slinger that I've seen in quite a long time. You don't have the standard aluminum extrusions. You have nice injected molded parts, a nice alloy frame at the bottom. It's stout, it's not going anywhere. You don't have any bed leveling springs anymore. Speaking of your build plate here, it has nice little stops at the end. That way it's aligned on the very first try. And it's got dual Z's that auto calibrate your Z on both sides before every print. And it's got a direct drive and a 300C nozzle. And you can see that the cable management is superb on this. I mean, it's just fit and finish is really nice and it prints very, very well. Now, let's talk some about minuses. Well, it's basically cloud only, so that's why you have to use your mobile app and or computer to connect to it. So yeah, you can use a USB-C thumb drive that's not included, and you could put your file on there and hit the button and it will execute that first print job. And that's it. Otherwise, you are tied to the mobile app and or computer for the slicer to send a print job. And you have to log into your account to do it. So if that cloud services goes down, well, you may not be able to print the way that you want to. And speaking about pressing this button, literally, I've only pressed that button once, and that's for the initial setup. Otherwise, I have done everything through either the mobile app or through the slicer. So I don't know how effective this will actually be, but that's just my experience, and yours may vary. And let's talk about, like, for the mobile app itself. It is nice, but it's missing some of the features that you would normally see on display that's attached to the machine, like a live Z offset. So typically when you are getting down your first layer, you're going to adjust your Z height to get that proper first layer squish. Well, that's not going to really happen. You literally have to print, look at it, and then cancel the print and start another one, adjusting the height as you go. It took me about 4 or 5 prints before I could actually, for the first layer to go down, for me to actually calibrate the correct height. And you can do the Z offset on the app. Now, at the beginning of every print, it goes through its nice little happy dance, literally. It will, wipe the nozzle, which is great, right here on this edge, and it'll do the purge line here. But then it goes through a Z calibration on for your left and right Z axes. And it does that before every print. I really don't think that's necessary. Maybe after you move the printer, you may want to do another, leveling, but not before every print. And now let's talk about your direct drive. I don't see any way to adjust the tension for your extruder. And typically, if you're going to do different types of filaments, like a softer filament, like a TPU, you may want to adjust the tension on that. And I do not see a way to adjust it. Now, if there is, please comment below. I may have simply overlooked it. And the nozzle, I would like to see a hardened steel nozzle, so that way you could print practically any material that you like. I mean, since it prints up to 300C, might as well have a hardened steel nozzle on there too. So that's basically the negatives that I could see. Now, this goes to the question basically on the box. Easy to use for beginners. Well, is it easy to use for beginners? It's still kind of hard for me to answer that question because I've been doing this for so long. I would have to say that the documentation and everything leading to the first print definitely was a lot clearer than almost anything I've ever experienced before. However, it's still kind of tough to answer. So I had an idea, and I reached out to Ankermake about it. What if I just pack up the machine that you gave me to review, and I sent it to someone that never had a 3D printer? Well, they really liked the idea, but they had an idea kind of their own. So let's go over that idea, shall we? They're offering a 10-pack of 0.2 millimeter nozzles. What? I think that's great. Don't you? That is absolutely awesome. Okay, fine. I get it. Fine. They're also offering a freshly dented 2-pack of PLA plus yellow filament. It was freshly dented by my local UPS. Now my guy that delivers, he's totally awesome. I'm sure it wasn't his fault. So, someone that's new to 3D printing, 10-pack of 0.2 millimeter nozzles and 2 rolls of PLA plus yellow filament. What? Okay, yes.
But wait, there's more.
Hold on. Ugh. All right. Plus the printer. So yes, 10-pack of nozzles, 2 spools of filament, and the printer. To someone that is new to 3D printing, I'm not talking about someone in your household or someone that's looking to gift a printer to someone that's new. No, I want someone that's watching this video that is absolutely new to 3D printing to enter into this giveaway. And what are the rules to the giveaway? Well, I'm glad you asked, because there are some rules. We all have to live through rules through our lives, so let's get that out of the way right now. You have to be at least 18 years or older, and you have to live in the lower 48 states of the US. I'm sorry for any of the people that live over the pond or, in Hawaii or Alaska. I'm sorry, but I am paying for shipping for these. If the random picker does pick someone outside of the US, if we want to try to square away on the shipping charges, maybe we can make it work. But as of it stands right now, lower 48. And again, you have to be new to 3D printing. Watching this video, you cannot have had a 3D printer before. Full stop. Next, an active social media account, like on X or Twitter, which was known as Twitter, because I would like to interact with you. And also, you have to agree after you receive the printer to go on a live stream with yours truly. Yes, we are going to talk about your 3D printing experience, what led you down that path, and the pluses and minuses about this printer. Now, there's also going to be some fun in there. So please read the comments, because there's going to be some tagging of certain points of the video, asking questions to make it a little bit more interactive, to prove to me that you watched the video. So with all that being said and done, there'll be a random picker of the comments to pull for the lucky draw. So I hope that you got all that. Again, there'll be more descriptive in the description below. So please have a wonderful day, evening, or weekend, or whenever you decide to watch this video. Thanks again for tuning in to Tripod's Garage, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you for tuning in.